allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Appreciate it for coming today. A nice full house. Look for a motion on the minutes.
So,
All right, any changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, to our resolutions, resolution HS1 is a resolution authorizing budget modification. Department of Social Services video conferencing monitors for Assistance Program Division. Look for a motion to discuss.
Make a motion. Thanks.
Got a first and a second. So within the Assistance Programs Division, most positions often require daily phone conferencing as well as working with multiple applications at the same time for eligibility and case management determinations. Dual monitor capabilities will allow staff to multitask and increase workflow. The most cost-effective quote totaled $7,230.50 for 50 video conferencing monitors. Our federal and state funding will reimburse 62% of the total cost of that $72,30.50, leaving us to a local share of $2,747.59. Costs will be covered with unspent salary and wages, as shown in the budget mod, making it budget neutral. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, Stacy?
No, it's not uncommon to have dual monitors now in performing tasks. It's going to make things much quicker, more efficient for them in their workloads.
Do you have any questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. HS2 is a resolution authorizing a budget modification. Department of Social Services, residential and domestic violence services, $153,000. Look for a motion to discuss.
So moved. Second.
Residential domestic violence services are mandated in accordance with New York State law and standards prescribed by the State Office of Children and Family Services. Services include emergency shelter, care to victims of domestic violence, and are provided by agencies certified by New York State Office of Child and Family Services. Do you want to add anything to that description?
This is due to the state having shifted their regulations and policies, so people who are staying, victims of violence who are staying in the shelter, no longer are required to go in and apply in our office for financial assistance. And when that happens and they refuse to come down and apply, then it's just billed directly to us. So this was a shift of not only state law, but also, and regulations, but also a shift of funding. They told us we could just shift it to our Title 20 funding, which is typically gone by April in counties.
So and some of this goes back to 2022?
And some of this goes back to 2022, correct. OCO is billing at the end of a stay. Now they're billing us every month, so we shouldn't see this big jump. We should see it a little more consistent. We will, however, see increases. For those of you that have been around, you may recall when this happened, I spoke quite a bit about it.
So the local portion for this budget mod is being moved from unspent salaries and wages, so it's budget neutral this year. We'll have to talk about during the budget season how to try to budget that appropriately. Any questions?
So we're saying here that it's actually 2020 plus 2021 plus 2022?
No, I just had folks put in what our total was for those years.
For those years. Okay.
So you could see
As a
what the jump
comparison.
that was, yeah.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. HS3 is a resolution authorizing budget modification, Department of Social Services, postage, administrative. Motion for HS increased by 5% effective January this year. At the current usage rate, will not have enough funds to cover the projected postal expenses for 2023. They totaled, the expenses that totaled $17,000 are reimbursed 50% federal, 25% state, 25% is local. Again, this budget amount is being moved from unspent salaries and wages, so it's neutral this year. I'll look for a motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. HS4 is a resolution authorizing budget modification, Department of Social Services, other supplies and expenses. I'll look for a motion to discuss. Yeah, second. Got a first and a second. Adult and Family Services supply budget line. That budget line is used to purchase paper, office supplies, foster parent recruitment supplies, etc. Various preventive safety devices for families and court mandated supplies for families. Expenses totaling $19,998 are reimbursed at 62% state, 38% local. The local portion for this budget is being moved from unspent salaries and wages. Any questions for Stacy on this? Or if there's anything I miss in my descriptions, you can add whatever you want as well. That one's pretty straightforward. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. HS5 is a resolution authorizing a budget modification, Department of Social Services for postage for adult and family services, similar reasons, similar reimbursement, expenses total of $14,193. Look for a motion to discuss.
Make a motion. Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes. HS6 is a resolution authorizing budget modification for Department of Social Services to accept and expend additional state aid from New York State OASIS, OMH, and OPWDD. I'll look for a motion to discuss.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Mental Hygiene Division budget modification to accept and expend these additional state aid from New York State mental hygiene agencies to support COLA for funded local services. So this is to support a 4% cost of living adjustment effective April 1, 2023 to improve salaries and salary-related fringe benefits for local services providers. Did you want to add anything?
No, only that, it's 100% state funded, and it'll be annualized beginning in January. It'll be full year's worth of COLA added to the state aid that we receive. It's essentially passed through to our contracted providers for them to support staff salaries and fringe.
Okay, any other questions for Nicole? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. HS7 is a resolution authorizing the creation of one principal social welfare examiner position in the Department of Social Services Assistance Programs Unit. Look for a motion to discuss.
Second.
Due to turnover and reassessment of agency needs, oversight of administrative services for the entire agency, including mailroom, file room, lobby, and switchboard board have been transferred to the Director of Assistance Programs. Assistance programs have tried up until now to provide supervision to these administrative teams within their current structure. The additional responsibilities for the current principal social welfare examiner have detracted from their ability to effectively oversee their respective benefit programs and the teams carrying out these program functions. So it's pretty elaborate info memo there that you had to take a look at. This is part of kind of a larger reorganization. I believe I sent the org chart to everybody that's on the committee if they wanted to look at it. Did I get a first and second on that? I did, right? I did not? Okay, we're first and second on this.
So moved.
Any questions? Did you want to elaborate any further?
No. I just appreciate everyone's support and understanding that this is a
So, yeah,
critical new.
part of this has to do with looking forward and dividing the employment and training potentially out of Department of Social Services, and just because we're still going to have to do some of the employment and training functions on the DSS side, but some of them are going to be more focused towards economic development and focusing on workforce development. If we end up dividing those, so this is going to help that process.
It will help, but it doesn't replace what we will need in that department or division of the department when that split occurs. Keep in mind, it's decades long that we braided together the two sides of the house. And it's a big chunk that's very mandated on the welfare and work side of the house. So we will have more proposals to provide to you as this all unfolds, although we don't know the timelines yet, so we'll have to figure out. I would imagine it would be in the 2024 budget projections.
So this will be budget neutral this year. The additional cost in 2024, the local share will be $11,166. All right, any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. HS8, it's a resolution requesting a modification to the capital project number 0823, Department of Social Services Space Maximization Project. So this is just updating an existing capital project. One of the quotes came in after the deadline for the June meeting.
Correct.
Federal funding will reimburse 50%, state funding reimburses 50%. The total cost is $4,268.38. I'll look for a motion.
Motion.
Got first and second. Any questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes. Resolution HS9 is a resolution authorizing budget modification, Department of Social Services, media and advertising outreach for recruitment. A motion to discuss.
So moved.
Second, to create updated advertising media and materials to increase recruitment efforts. Part of the Bonadeo Group's report recommended the Services Division put a focus on marketing and hiring to address some staffing shortages. So DSS seeks to create 3 promotional videos to meet those recommendations. The total expense is $20,000, 62% state reimbursement, 38% local. Using money that's unspent from salaries and wages this year, it would be budget neutral. Any questions for Stacy? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. All right, we'll move on to our ARPA projects. And starting with
Mr. Connors?
Bishop's Commons, Inc., seeking $62,000 in pre-year pay. They gave their employees during the Healthcare Heroes initiative. These funds were provided to RNs, LPNs, critical care aides, and other frontline staff. 46 staff members. The ARPA task force has recommended a $62,533 award. So I will make a motion to move that project forward. Look for a second.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Dave, did you want to elaborate on that one at all?
Nope, the other thing that qualifies them as an applicant
is that the facilities in a qualified census tract, which Census Bureau has areas that they determined were disproportionately impacted during the pandemic. So that was another qualifier for them.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The next project is for the Rural and Migrant Ministry of Oswego County, Inc., seeking $35,958.74 in order to construct a barn and storage facility on the site that will allow them to house medical equipment and other necessary items they loan to residents who need assistance. The request, you heard, was $35,958. The award recommended by the ARPA task force is $32,000. I'll make a motion to go ahead and move that at the requested amount.
Second.
Anything that you want to add to that, Dave?
Also, they service people within a qualified census tract, which is Village of Pulaski, and the difference between the ask and the suggestion is that they had about 3,000 and change in there for Amish labor. The Amish are going to build the structure for them, and can include labor costs that aren't prevailing wage. So this was supplies only for the facility.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
The next project is the Child Advocacy Center of Oswego County. The organization located in Fulton is seeking $38,816.22 to help cover cost increases that they have demonstrated through quotes work that has been needed to resurface their parking area. This was done to provide a safer environment for clients, and it was full of poles, divots, and other hazards. They would also like to upgrade their HVAC unit to a more efficient model. The recommend from the ARPA task force is the $38,816.22. I'll make a motion to move that at the requested amount.
Second.
Any questions?
Mine is a parking lot.
So the difference here, not specifically the parking lot, is the difference in the cost between a project that they had scheduled pre-pandemic. They couldn't go forward with it when the pandemic shut everything down. They wanted to do the project after the cost had increased. So the difference between the pre-pandemic and post-pandemic cost is how they came up with that number for that work.
So that would make the parking resurfaces qualified. Right?
It's the nature of the work doesn't really matter. It's the COVID impact on the cost of the project. So whether they were building a kitchen, a porch, fixing a parking lot, if they had quotes from pre-pandemic for one price, they couldn't go forward with it because the economy and the labor and the materials weren't available. They came back to do it afterwards. They got quotes from the provider again, and the delta between that was the economic harm that they suffered.
So they provided those quotes,
Yes.
pre and post.
Yeah, and it's there's been a variety, some restaurants and other types of businesses also where we had to make those calculations in order to justify their economic harm.
Okay. Let's see, did I did not make a motion for that one yet, did I, Raven? I did? Thank you. Glad somebody's keeping track. I usually jot it down here, but I didn't. Okay, so we have a motion to accept that at the requested amount. Any other questions?
We can't get their parking lot built, we can do this. That's just I'll support it based on your information.
Yeah, so that we can't demonstrate a COVID impact on something that wasn't a project prior to the pandemic.
GSS is always a project.
But I think there was other issues about the DFS parking lot, which is the big one.
I understand, I just,
He's being cute.
I have a problem with
You could use the internal ARPA money for that, but not the external pot.
That is frankly off topic.
But
So,
I sure do appreciate your advocacy.
and we could discuss that during your update. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The next one is the Habitat for Humanity of Oswego County. The organization is seeking $120,000 to have a program that will work with the Office of the Aging, ARISE, home health aides, medical practitioners, and others that will allow Habitat to retrofit seniors' homes to be safer for them, allowing them to age in place instead of needing to be relocated to a nursing facility. I'll look for a motion on this one at the $120,000 recommendation of the task force.
I'll make that.
Second. Anything that you want to add to that, Dave?
So they did specify that they were going to focus on clients within qualified census tracts, City of Oswego, City of Bolton, and Village of Pulaski, and also seniors were identified in the legislation as disproportionately impacted individuals. So how they qualify.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm recusing from that because ARISE is listed in that, although I'm not aware of why it was. I've been told.
They referenced that they partner with you on a lot of these projects.
So we would have one abstain.
For the sake of just
Motion carries. The next project is St. Francis Commons, seeking $76,213, but they paid to employees in the middle of the COVID pandemic as bonuses during their Healthcare Hero campaign. They're paid to RNs, LPNs, home health aides, and other frontline staff. They are looking for, the recommend is the same as the request, $76,213. I will make a motion to move that at the requested amount. For a second?
Second.
Any questions?
Same owners as Bishop's, because they use the same language.
Yeah, St. Luke's, these are both individual separate businesses under the St. Luke's Family of Services.
Okay. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Milestones Children's Center is the next project. Little Luke's will no longer be offering special education services, leaving a void in these services in Oswego County. Milestones is an already operating business in Jefferson, Oswego, and Onondaga counties, and has proposed to work in Little Luke's child care centers to offer these services in conjunction with Little Luke's. They are requesting $282,229 to cover the first 2 months of staffing, as well as books, tests, adaptive equipment, and special needs students, for special needs students, and curriculum supplies. Once funded, Milestones would become a self-sustaining program through revenue brought in from the students. The county does send children in other counties who need these services at a cost of $570 per day per child. And Milestones / Little Luke's is committed to ensuring that during initial registration, all slots will be prioritized to be given to Oswego County students. I'll make a motion to fund this at the ARPA task force recommend of $282,229. Any questions or discussion?
Yeah, so who's paying that bill of $570 a day? Is that through DSS? So who's paying?
Health Department.
Health.
Yeah.
See,
Early intervention.
Oh, it's early intervention. Okay.
Any other questions?
Anyone have an idea how many people we're talking about, how many kids? That's a lot of money for 2 months. I mean, I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, this is startup funds to make the transition. I don't know
How many slots are?
how many slots are right now.
I believe it's in the upper 40s in terms of slots for children that they have. And then there's also a wait list for students who, once slots become available, can fill into those.
And available slots can mean adjoining counties. So if you have an Oswego County child who needs special needs services, and we don't have a slot here, but there's a slot in Hewitt County, we're paying that $570 a day to take the kid back and forth to Hugo or Onondaga or Jefferson, wherever there's a slot. So one thing that we asked in the discussions about this was for them to guarantee that before they accepted any kids from neighboring counties, they would go through all their applications for Oswego County students first to help minimize that. But we currently are sending.
Right now, there's at least 6 that get sent out, and multiple students cost over $100,000 a year each.
So that'll be in their contract, taking the money that they've got
Yeah.
to adhere to that.
First preference goes to applications for Oswego County students.
So there's some cost avoidance for this.
What is it?
Produces some cost avoidance, cost savings for us.
Yeah. Nice.
Raven and I have a first and second on that, right? All right. Any more questions? But
Are these kids located at the Little Loops here and then the one in Fulton, or is there other spots in Oswego County?
It's
Just those two right
Just those two?
Yeah.
The milestones was
any other questions? All right. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the last project is Victory Transformation, Inc., seeking funding to help cover the cost of their roof repairs. The shelter serves homeless and disenfranchised individuals, allowing application to fall under ARPA guidelines. The budget includes the entire cost of replacing both roofs of Victory House and Val Haven to be at about $350,000. They're seeking the funding amount of $49,800 to help cover some of those expenses. Costs include removal of asbestos, new shingles, plywood, equipment, labor, and contingencies. So I'll offer a motion to fund that at the ARPA task force recommend $49,800. Got a second? Right. Jay. Questions?
Yeah, a second. If you get a second.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Me.
You're voting no?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. Okay, on to reporting departments, veteran services.
So, as of yesterday, it's been 1 year since I was lucky enough to get this spot, so I thought it'd be appropriate to do kind of like a year review, a short one.
I think that's a great idea.
So, as June of last year, or July of last year when I first took the spot, we were submitting an average of about 30 claims a month. 30 forms a month, I should say. Some claims require more than one document. As of November, that jumped to 80. Once we got the satellite offices running, we were up to 120. And as of last month, it's 140. So we're averaging between, looks like we're going to start averaging between 120 and 140 the following months, hopefully. The last year, we added 660 veterans to the Vet Pro program that we use, which is a 98% increase from the year prior. We're tracking 1,572 interactions over the last year, which is a 20% increase. As forms created, because not all forms created get submitted, we're at 1,368, which is a 100% increase from last year. And this year is the first year that we've done the Fresh Connect checks, and to date we've given out 1,950 of the 2,500 we had. So it looks like we are starting to really get the veterans, get them in the offices. I think satellite offices were a really big part of that, and we still are planning to hopefully man one of those offices at least once a week. Last guy, I would like to keep that on Thursdays because it's always been Thursdays, and that's what a lot of people remember. And since the Oswego one is brand new, we might move that to Tuesdays. So every Tuesday and Thursday, one of those two offices will be open. A lot of the Fresh Connect checks went out of those offices because those are the veterans that probably need those more than anybody because they have a difficult time traveling. Class guy, the farmers market right there are vendors there that take the Fresh Connect checks, so people are able to use them. I haven't had anybody come back yet and tell me that they were a waste of their time. I have had several people come back and ask me how many times a year do they get them, because they've used their whole lot already. You can only get them once a year. This goes until, I think we can hand them out until the end of November. We only have 550 left, so I'm thinking about probably going to contact the agricultural and get more, see if I can get more of these. So it's been a good year.
Good job. Thank you.
Great job.
Great. Any questions?
Are you happy staying?
Well done. Thank you. Brian, you're up.
So I'm going to give you guys a document you can read as you go through it. It has highlights of some best updates from the department. First one being its timeline for our funding for 2024. That for our runaway homeless youth, our sports money, and our youth development money, the state is changing to the federal calendar year. So that is the first for that. So it did change our timeline from something that we usually do at the end of the calendar year to right about now that we start kicking in. As you can see that June 30th was really a lot of the information went out to the public and our funded agencies. Aside from that, you'll see some updated information. A couple of things just to point out for Camp House right now, we have, as of Monday, we had 685 registered campers. Last year we had a total of 636. 685 would be the most campers we've had at Camp House since 2010. So we are very much going in the right direction with that one. Camp Zerby starts their full camp this Monday coming up. So I believe that's July 10th. We will be kicking off our program at Camp Zerby. Hopefully Legislator Yurden, plural, will be there to help to do the welcome to the campers. Last time we did that, he created a little bit of fun for the kids with snakes and such. But anyways, we'll be going with that. It's a read through here that, knock on wood, that our funding to the state has been good from what the budget had provided, including a new line that we have not all the details on yet. It's a second part of the sports gambling money. It's $10 million the state needs to divide up, and Oswego County will get a piece of that as well. So that will be new for 2024. Aside from that, there is just updates on our grants, that where we're at, where we're moving along. Our Governor's Youth Council will be going into year 4. I'm the advisor for 18 students, so that's 18 different counties that I represent: Central, Southern Tier, and North Country. So I'll be doing that again. Our Youth Summit, I told you guys about that last month. On a negative side, we will not have a trail crew at Independence Park this year. I guess there was a challenge in finding crew leaders, so we won't be able to do that, but although there's construction going on out there, so not the worst thing in the world. Our Traveling Arts in the Park schedule is in here as well for anybody who might be interested in attending any of those summer shows. I'm Harbor Fest will be a big part of that as well. And then, like all departments, the vacancy bug finally caught up to me. Although I have been able to replace 2 of my 3, I did lose a staff member who has been with the county since 2010. He is relocating down to the south, but I have hired a new person to replace him who is doing a fantastic job so far. But aside from that, we are really moving along. You should have also received, I think Betsy sent you the invite for the legislature picnic, which would be next week at Camp House before your meeting. We have moved it up so that lunch would be served at noon right on the dot. All activities will be before that, so you should be able to get out of Camp House by 12:30 if you're able to attend. We are hopeful that you can make it so that you can see a lot of the updates in the infrastructure that have been happening out there. And again, that we have a full week of campers. Most of our weeks, if you go on our webpage, are sold out with a waiting list. So good and bad. I hate having to put kids on a waiting list, but we're maxed out at what we can at capacity right now for our camps. So it's all good stuff. We're in a good place right now in Parks and Rec, and we're just ready to keep moving forward on it. A lot of reading there. I don't want to keep it out too much.
Any more specific questions for Brian?
What time is that on?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Yeah. We were also out there last week with the legislature here did ask with the engineers. We're working on the bathhouse, so we were able to meet with them last week and get a lot of their questions answered and get them the information they need on the infrastructure through the engineering department, the health department, so that they can proceed with plans.
All right, anything else? Any other questions? Thank you, Brian. Sarah?
Okay. So today was the first day of our farmer market coupon distribution, senior farmer market coupon distribution. We had a drive-up event at the Cusa Community College parking lot in Fulton, and I'm a little red because I was out there this morning. We had, when I left, it was just under 200 participants. We were there until 1 o'clock, so we're hoping to get the 200 list. We also, as part of it, we are giving out the Dill Container Gardens, and we also had for the first 200, well, actually it was 170 because they didn't have 200 boxes, but they also received a fresh produce box. It had apples, tomatoes, potatoes. It was a nice size box, so everybody got a box of produce as well. We did get 800 booklets this year. Last year we only received 680, so we're happy that it bumped back up to the 800 because we distribute them so quickly. Within 2 weeks, all the coupon books are distributed. With the 4,000 or the 800 booklets, there's 4,000 coupons, a value of $20,000 to be back into the community for our farmers, for the farmers. And unlike the fresh checks, it is only for fresh fruits and vegetables locally grown. The fresh checks, you can purchase other items. And I reached out to Eric today. I'm gonna see if we can send any of our, any of our people we identify as veterans, we'll send them to Eric to get the additional fresh checks as well. So we're going to be at all the farmers markets, and this year the Pulaski Farmers Market is a participating market, so we'll be up there as well, distributing at the market and to some housing as well. So, the next item is our senior picnic. I know I mentioned this a couple of times, but we now have our flyer. So our senior picnic is on August 16th. It will be in Mexico at the VFW in the back room of the pavilion. And we have a lot of good stuff going on. You're all welcome to attend. We'll be getting other invitations out as well. So we make sure that folks covered if you want to attend that event. We'll also be, at the event, we'll be recognizing our senior volunteers of the year. There'll be a demonstration on the LAQ, the artificial intelligence unit that we have. We'll also have a little fresh food resource fair at the event, as well as entertainment, and bingo, of course. Bingo is a hit for our seniors. Within what I passed out, nutrition transportation, with the closure of the Hannibal Dining Center, we had transportation that was provided for people, which was never utilized, but we had available for the Hannibal site. I met with Oswego Transportation to see if we can expand the Fulton transportation to get anybody from the Hannibal area if they want to go to a congregate site to our Fulton site. Our Fulton site is open 5 days a week. They have transportation 2 days a week, so we're taking the Hannibal 1-day transportation, expanding the Fulton into 2 days, and it can get into the Hannibal area to get anybody in that area if they want to go to the congregate site. I would love to see us to get some people on the bus from that area into a congregate site, but I'll keep you posted if we do have anybody that once we do a modification, it'll come next month here, because we'll have to do an amendment to our contract because it is a modification. But right now, it's going to be budget neutral. It's not going to be any additional cost. We'll just be the money that we had for the Hannibal transportation put into the Fulton site so that we can offer that as an option. And the last item on there is that we are losing 2 staff this month due to retirements of key staff. So we've been interviewing. Unlike Brian, we haven't found anyone yet to fill those positions, but we'll get somebody in those 2 positions as soon as we can. That's all I had, other than all of our everyday stuff that we were doing. Those are the highlights that I wanted to bring to your attention for this meeting.
Any questions for Sarah? Thank you. All right, Stacy.
You okay to talk about staffing?
Yeah. So we are making progress on staffing.
Great.
Wow.
Overall, since the beginning of the year, we've hired 80 people, and we've had 25 internal promotions, which is excellent. Great way to retain staff. Our vacancy rate has gone from a high of 23.5 in April down to 16 in June. So that's awesome. The caseworkers, we went from 30 vacancies in March.
Right, 60% of our
Yes,
Is that percentage
positions.
16% vacancy
are
rate.
vacant right now.
Okay.
For our caseworker title only, we went from 30 vacancies in March, at the end of March, down to 20 at the end of June. And I just approved making offers to 6 more this month. So maybe single digits by the end of summer. We've hired 21 overall since the beginning of the year and lost 7, but only 2 of those specifically to go to other jobs. Others were dissatisfied, their commute was too long, they had family issues, or they moved away. So, social welfare examiners, we have a vacancy rate right now of 13%, down from 22. We've hired 11 people in that role since the beginning of the year, and have only lost 3. And only 1 was a new job, 1 was a move, and 1 was a new baby, which is exciting all by itself. And our CSWs are finally down to just 3 vacancies over the whole department that uses CSWs. We've hired 12, had nobody leave us, and 3 internal promotions. So things are really looking up. Thank you for all that you've done to support us in that retention. Now we need to be working on foster care, because we have
Well,
children.
hopefully some of the new furniture and
Yeah.
things is going to make it a little more
Yeah.
comfortable over there as well.
Absolutely. And we're getting to start some new initiatives, and
it feels good, you know, to be able to look to the future. So it's exciting. You know, I do want to caution you, you know, that there's still stress, and our experienced folks are carrying a pretty heavy load because not only are they carrying above average or sometimes very high caseloads, they're training, helping to train. You know, we do have training teams, but you don't just walk into DSS, right? Because, you know, the 80 new people we welcomed without there being a really heavy lift on getting them the kind of technical knowledge that they need to actually work independently. So you will still continue to see some higher amounts being spent on our plus 5 hours in overtime because, again, they're doing not only a heavy lift on cases, but also helping to train. But we are very optimistic, and it feels really good to see new talent, new folks coming into our agency, and I'm forever optimistic that our mission is compelling enough that sooner or later we will attract people, new talent, and get them in place. Marty mentioned, you know, one other pressure point I wanted to just brief you on today is the lack of foster parents. We are meeting regularly to have a strategy on how to best approach our community members. And one way is certainly with our recruitment tape that we'll be doing a video as well as working through faith-based community and churches to reach farther in helping to bring people into that mission. We have a group of foster parents. You might have seen them. They brought treats to our caseworkers, and Savannah had done a nice press release on that in the papers for appreciating our caseworkers' efforts in helping foster parents. And those folks have an initiative where they're reaching into churches to ask for help supporting foster parents. If you can't be a foster parent, then can you do some things that will help come into the foster home and tutor a child in math, drop off a casserole, do some transportation of kids back and forth to sports, those kinds of things. So there's a big push, very grassroots by these folks. There's a video out. It's not by the county. It's not by DSS. It is truly a grassroots initiative, and that tells me we're doing the right thing here in Oswego County. When it comes from the grassroots, when it comes from within our networks, you know that there's some good things happening. So we're pretty excited, and I want to say we have about I want to say about 15 people who are volunteering to help foster parents right now in a variety of capacities. If you'd like, I'm not sure, does our link, is that a link that if I forward to Roy, he might be able to?
The video from
Yeah.
Pastor Life?
Yeah,
I will check that out and make sure it gets to him
okay,
somehow.
okay. Some of these are a little tricky when you send them on, whether you can open them or not. This is something you can't do. And I have really nothing to report on the parking lot, all right?
Do you, Phil?
Purchasing is seeking engineering quotes for a design.
Great.
Will a handicap ramp come?
Handicap
In
ramp is
tangent
other
to
than
that?
Oh, on the outside of the
Yeah,
building?
yeah.
Probably be a separate
project.
separate project, but something that we should absolutely be looking at.
Okay.
A while back, you mentioned to me the entranceway for employees was
Yes, and it's been done.
Good.
It looks beautiful.
excellent.
Yes, they have to do the finishing coat of paint. But yeah, it really, everything is really starting to get spruced up a bit, which is also really important. I think they've got about half the new bathrooms remodeled now. And it was long overdue, so we're really thankful and grateful. And I'll tell you, one of the things that got the biggest buzz is a machine that you put on the top of a drinking fountain. And it filters the water and comes right into your it's awesome. And people just love it, because we have a tendency to get brown water, and they flush the hydrants out, or there's issues sometimes, and, so.
That does not sound that.
No, but, you filter the water, you're good to go, so,
Take your stuff.
yeah.
They won the competition for the best water you all those years in a row.
Could you get on that? From Mexico?
I know.
Best water.
But it is.
It is good water.
I don't understand why Cleveland hasn't won years in a row, but it's okay. Okay, is that it for
That's
your
it.
report? Thank you very much. Let's try to keep the pressure on, keep moving. As we get more bodies in that building, parking's going to get worse and worse.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's nice to hear that we're getting some more people to come in and staff. Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead.
Are you planning on having another open house like you did one back?
We don't have a plan for it. We are certainly open to doing whatever we can at this point.
It went over pretty good though, when you did do it.
Yeah. We can consult with HR on that.
Are we, brainstorming some more ideas, like out of for foster parents recruitment?
Yes.
Besides the videos, I mean, I think the ecumenical outreach is really a big deal.
It is. It is. Our colleague here from Victory Transformation, I can't speak highly enough of, and their homeless mission to help us with homeless, which, please know that's the neediest of the needy, of course, for and Victory Transformation has embraced that mission. But was telling me, could you
Sure.
repeat that story?
So I attend Believers Chapel North in Mexico. I live in New Haven. A graduate of Mexico, that's why I returned here when I retired. And I am passionate about the church has to impact the community. So I have been working closely with our new pastor and our elders about the work that we're doing. They recently now are contributing to Victory every month. Our pastor's going to come and view the facility, but I was sharing with Stacy that we have a young couple in our church. We dearly love them, newly married. While she was dating, she made it clear to her husband they were going to adopt children before they had their own. So I've watched this unfold the last couple of years. They first had 2 children from the same family, then 3. They were going to adopt the 2, adopt the 3, which they did. They recently just got the last 2, and they're all from the same family, and they're getting ready to adopt both of them. So they'll have adopted 5 children within the year before they have their own children. So our church is supportive of that. I just said to Stacy, it'd be good to reach out to us, especially if you have a video. I definitely will talk to my pastor this Sunday about some kind of presentation. I am uniquely aware, having been a superintendent, having known as a leader what it does to children, right, in their educational process when they're in foster care and moved around. And, it's something the community really needs to step up, including the church. So.
And those were foster children?
All 5 of them were in the DSS system. And actually, Believers Chapel has, I have been the women's ministry leader, and so for the last 3 years, we've done a huge fundraiser called the Mystery Christmas Auction. where the community comes in and brings an unwrapped gift. And I'm the auctioneer. Last year we raised over $5,000 in one night. We gave that to the Liberty Resources Kinship Program. Prior to that, 2 years earlier, we purchased all kinds of foster care, diapers, wipes, bibs, whatever children needed, clothes, underwear, socks, and we donated it all to the, they have a foster care closet for needs. So our church has been pretty involved in that, and we want to continue to do that.
Great. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? All right, I'll look for the appropriate motion.
So,
We have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks. I'll catch you up just.
Although I just